for coming to our iPlatform webinar. We're excited. There's quite a few people signed up for this webinar today, so we're happy to have you here, and we'll get started. So our agenda for today, we're going to go over a general overview of iPlatform. We're going to look a little bit into iReport and iAchieve, iExplore, and then if we have some time, we'll go into some of the scenarios so that you can kind of think about it from what you might want to be looking at for your schools or districts. Just first and foremost, I'm Heather Jenkins. I am here and I'm joined by Mike Schwartz. We are doing everything we can to be able to get the information out on iPlatform. We've got some really great information here. So again, we're glad you're here. We also want to thank, before we do our poll, the Department of Education and our continued partnership with them to be able to bring you these webinars for free and to be able to get the word out about everything and all and everything data. So we're happy to have you here, and we thank them for their support. In general, we just, for the poll, wanted to see a little bit about who's here, how familiar you are with iPlatform. I just launched the poll. It's 3 short questions. If you could answer the questions and just give us an idea of who you are and how familiar you are, we'll know how much time to spend on each section. As you're doing the poll, one thing that I didn't mention is, and there was already a question in the chat. Definitely keep, putting your questions in the chat here. You will get a copy of these slides and also a certificate for the webinar. It will go out sometime tomorrow evening. So you can kind of look out in your email for that. We have slides and again, the certification. So the little certificate that you'll get for your hour webinar here. All right. I have lost my poll. There it is. All right. So it looks like we're just about finished up with the poll. I'm going to end it in just a second. A lot of you, this is your first introduction. It looks like about half of you it is. A heads up, we're going to bombard you with some information here. Our information is also at the end of the slides. So if you ever need to reach out to us or have more questions, for sure, let us know. There's a few of you that have gone to maybe a little bit of prior training or you've used it a little. Very few of you are quite, familiar with it. So we have mostly school or district administrators and some teachers here too. So anyway, perfect. I'm going to end the poll. This is all good to know so that I can make sure to go a little bit more slowly through the sections and give you a little bit more information. Just so that you can kind of understand what data is in iPlatform. There's a few different places where the data comes from. The first one is indexes is somewhere where you have a lot of your student information and submission information, stuff about your school and everything. That combined with what the state assessment scores are, and some other sort of accountability data that has to do with like graduation rate and all of that, all get combined into this platform. The difference between this platform and maybe some other platforms, I know that a lot of folks have been going to Data Studio training, and we have iPlatform, Data Studio, and what's the difference? This data that you're going to see here is by school or by district. You will not see down to the student level. It populates with all the student information. This, as we go through the screens, I'll also show you a little bit about everything in iPlatform is we're working with students who are only in your district for the full academic year. So it is a little bit different than Data Studio, which would be a student who was in your district either the time of testing or is in your district now. So there's just a little bit of difference between the data. So I'll try to make that clear as we go through. Here are the different components that we're going to talk about today. First things first is iReport. Just wanted to give you a heads up that the finance and the IDEA data is not yet updated in iPlatform. It will be coming soon. So be on the lookout for that. But this is basically to just kind of show you everything that's going to be in iReport, iExplore, and iAchieve. I'm going to go into a lot of these components, but I'm not going to go into every single tab. I'm just going to give you some highlights and where I feel like you might be able to find some of the most important information or things that people ask about a lot. At this point, I am going to turn off my screen. I don't know, Mike, if you wanted to say anything before we turn our screens off.
No, I'll just thank Heather on behalf of all of us for presenting this today, and thank all of you for being here and learning more about iPlatform. And also quickly just reference Dina Raybuck, who's one of the kind of mastermind developers behind this, so works with with us and with the department as well. So thanks to Dina for all her work to get us here with this tool. But other than that, I'll turn it over to Heather. I'm going to turn my video off as well, and thank you all for being here.
Great. All right. So first and foremost, how do you get to it? It's on the Department of Ed's website, but the easiest way to get to it is to just Google iPlatform. It will be the first thing that shows up. When you have these slides, you'll also be able to click right on this link and it will open up iPlatform and you'll see a page that looks very similar to what the screenshot is on this particular screen. For the most part, we put a lot of the information that you're going to need right in these slides, and then we're going to go live. So you'll have a link to where the recording will reside. It will probably be uploaded sometime a little bit later this week. So the slides will come first, and then the recording will be up on our Demonstrated Success YouTube site as well. So iReport. This is one of the things that folks look at. It is called iReport sort of for the reason that it is kind of like your report card for your particular district. To be able to get in, you're able to just click right on iReport. The other sort of difference between a lot of these iPlatform applications and Data Studio or something that you might be looking at like Cambium or your SAT for College Board is that this is all public data. It's not hidden. You can look at your district, your school, anybody else's school. So it's kind of cool to be able to kind of just see just a general report of your particular district. So as you get into iReport, this is what you're able to do to be able to search. There's a lot of different fields here down on the bottom. You could select a specific town, an entity type, so what type of school, grade spans if you wanted. If you already know what school or district you want, that's what I recommend. You just go to select school or district, you start typing, you choose the one you want, and then you click on View Report. Once you click on View Report, the first thing that's going to come up is this Overview tab. And what this is just that. It's an overview of a lot of the different tabs that we have within iReport. And it gives you a little bit of information about each section. So you can see there's student achievement and finance, educator profiles, academic growth, school environment. So it's just kind of an overview of it all. When I go live, I'll show you there's a lot of hover text here. There's a lot of really great rich information in it, but this is just sort of the overview screen here. On the top, you will see that there are different tabs. The tab that's open is going to be the green one. Up at the top, you're able to, let's say I didn't want to look at Auburn Village School and I wanted to search for something else, I would be able to go back to search. I also could click school list. If I was looking at a specific district, it will tell me the different schools. I could choose a particular school in a district and compare entities and downloads I'll talk about in just a little bit. It right now is the information that has everything to do with our state assessments for the 24-25 school year. So this is everything that was done last spring. And then as I'm moving along to the achievement tab, couple things I want to point out here. This is one that tab that people look at the most is to understand their particular achievement. So right here, if I'm looking at ELA proficiency, I just wanted to show you where this sort of relates to your level 3 and level 4 students. So our overall proficient are those students who are combined from level 3 and level 4 on the actual assessments. Right now, I have Auburn Village School. It's a K-8 school, so I'm looking at New Hampshire SAS grades 3-8. If I was looking at a district and it was showing me both elementary and middle and high school, the SAT would also be in the overall proficiency scores. But for right now, I'm looking at New Hampshire SAS. So you also have to kind of think about how you're looking at the data and what grade levels you're looking at. This here as well, if we're looking at a particular target, sorry, there we go. My computer is on a delay, so I apologize. So this target area, I just wanted to point out, this is not sort of the state average. A lot of people look at the target and they're like, okay, did we make it to the state average? Are we above it? The target is just what the state is hoping to see. We have state average information here, and you'll be able to see it. If we look even on the right-hand side here, and we look at the assessment proficiency in context, we can see here the great thing about all of the iPlatform tools that we have is the color coding is very consistent throughout. So we have our state average, our district average, and then our school average. So for the most part, depending on the number of schools in your district and your school average will be the same. But obviously you've got the state of New Hampshire showing as well. So you can see what this district looks like compared to the state. If I move on to the growth tab here, what you're going to be able to see is your particular school's overall growth. When it comes to measures for the state of New Hampshire, it's not just about proficiency and achievement. We want to be able to see growth as well. So growth is really important for us to take a look at. For right here, what we're seeing is we are able to see what the mean growth percentile is, right? So they take all the students and they figure out what the student growth percentile is, and then they average those for mean growth percentile. So just so that we can make sure everybody's on the same page with the growth comparison. If we're looking at a student growth percentile, let's say student A in 2024 got an ELA score of 512. Maybe they were in 4th grade and their ELA score was 512. This past year, that same student maybe is now in 5th grade and they got an ELA score of 578. So we're taking a single student, right, and what they scored for each year. But what it's doing is it's saying for all the students in 2024 that were in 4th grade and scored around a 512 or similar to that student, they group those students together and they say, okay, this is how they scored in 2024. Now let's look at how those same exact students scored in 2025. And that becomes the student growth percentile. So they're comparing it to students who scored similarly the year before and even prior years to that. It's not always just one year. For the mean growth percentile, we're looking at the average student growth percentile for a group. So right now, because I haven't done, any sort of changes, we're looking at a specific school that we have, which is Auburn Village School, or if I might have been looking at the district. Or I could also be looking at a subgroup, and I'll show you how to hover to be able to see what those different subgroups are here. So they're on the other side over here. So you'll be able to see how it is overall, and then what the growth is for a specific subgroup. Anything with a mean growth percentile above 50 indicates that on average, that group, whether it be the school or subgroup, are growing faster than the state average or the students that were in their particular, sort of, I don't like to call it a cohort, but sort of a cohort from the year before. So we want to see above 50. So that's always a good indicator of growth. If we're looking at this as well, I can download this information. So if I click here on the download, I'm able to look at a summary report card or a detailed report card. So if I were to look at the summary, what's happening is it's just that. It's just here's the overall summary of what this particular school looks like. We can see the general indication about the population breakdown and then the performance indicators. If I wanted to look at the detailed card, I get that information and I get a lot of other pages to be able to download. So it's kind of neat to be able to say, let me take a look at this. I didn't go through all the tabs, but basically it gives you information from each one of the tabs in a whole report. In addition, you can download any of the data in an Excel or CSV format. So you can look at it for a specific school. And then you could look at it maybe from multiple entities if you have multiple schools in your district, or for all schools in the district. And that again would be an Excel or a CSV file. So anything in iReport, you can be downloading and showing it to folks or putting it into presentations or what have you. I'm going to pause right there, Mike, and just make sure there weren't any questions before I go live, or maybe you're going to feed them to me as I'm going into the different areas for going live, but
Nope, you're good right now. I've been answering some questions through the
okay.
question
Sounds.
chat board.
So like I said, easiest way to get there is to just basically Google iPlatform, and it's the first one here. So I'm just going to make my screen a little bit bigger because it will be helpful for when we're getting into the screens. I'm going to go into iReport. And again, I'm able to choose a specific school that I would like to see. I'll continue with my Auburn Village. So I'm just starting to type it in. I'll go to Auburn Village School. I do want to see 2025. Just so you know, it goes all the way back to 2018. It's not just the current year. So you would be able to run it. You do have to run it for 1 year at a time. It won't let you see more than 1 year at a time. But I say 2025 and I go to view report. So the great thing when this comes up here, again, I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger so you can see, is that we're able to, again, we've got the school year drop down here. So I could change years right here as well. If I wanted to go back to the search, I would be able to see that this school list is just showing me Auburn as a district. You know, if I would have chosen something like Manchester, it would have had a whole list of schools there as well. The information that you're seeing on this screen, again, when I was telling you before that there's a lot of great color coding, a lot of great hover text. So if I'm looking at overall achievement and ELA proficiency, I can see this hover text here. So this is showing me what the proficiency for ELA math and science is. And now I'm not only seeing 2025, which was that 68%, 61%, and 54, but I can also see where they came from in 2024 and 2023. So that can be really helpful, just being able to look at the last 3 years as you're hovering. So you can see a lot of just general information on here. I've got my academic growth, and you can see where the growth was and where it is now. So you've got a lot of just great general information here. One thing that I did not show in the slides is the profile. This is basically just a snapshot of the general information about Auburn Village School. So this is something, so every once in a while I'm talking to somebody and I'm not sure if they're a K-8 school or if they're, a middle school or what have you. So I might come in here and I'm able to see which grades they have. You're able to see just some general information. You can see the population breakdown and all your race and ethnicity, all of the general information here. So it's pretty cool that you're able to see that. Again, when you hover, you're able to see the last 3 years. So you can see maybe how their populations have changed or not changed and what have you. As we kind of move through the different tabs, I do want to go over the achievement tab. I know I showed that in the slide deck, but the achievement and the growth tab are the two big tabs that people look at when they're looking at iReport. So with achievement, again, target is not state average. It's where the state would like to see particular folks. And then if I click on any of these little arrows, so I want to click on this, and what happens is I am now able to see that ELA proficiency by student group, by, demographics, by grade. So if I was looking at a specific grade and I said, oh, I just want to see, like was grade 3 more proficient or grade 8 more proficient, whatever it might be. And I'm able to see this information. One thing that gets a little bit confusing is that this tab stays open until I click this again. So you just want to remember to be able to click it. If you want to close it, you click it again. It won't undo it if you click over to the side like some applications do. So I'm able to see the different proficiencies for each particular test type. I'm able to see, again, compared to the state. So I could see the state average here. If I use this little hover text, I can see the school and district in this case are the same, but you get the idea. If you had a bigger district, you would be able to see that. And then you can see it compared to the state. Same information sort of on the bottom. You've got your student proficiency levels, and then you can kind of see just some general information about how those schools are doing with the different proficiencies and the number of students within each particular section. Right. And you can see your participation rates, if those are going up or down or what have you. And then you can see proficiency over time here. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to move on to the growth tab and just kind of show you just a little bit of the hover text that you're seeing here. So again, you can see the overall for ELA and math. You don't see growth for science because you don't do consecutive years of science. So just a heads up on that. You can see the overall growth for each of the academic areas, and then you can see it by subgroup or demographic. If you hover over the information here, for some reason I thought I was seeing it. Okay, I was like, I know I saw it earlier. You can see for the last 3 years how these students have been doing here. So each one of the demographics has that.
And there was a question about the that would be helpful to answer live rather than through answering line about the growth and whether it's showing the same cohorts over multiple years. And so like that, those growths, as Heather mentioned, is the average growth for all the students in the school. So if you're looking at the past 3 years, it is going to be it is going to include students who've left your school because they might be in the growth for the first year, but not in the next two. And then obviously the new students who came into your school. So for the most part, you are talking about similar cohorts of students within your school. But obviously as students enter fourth grade or exit your school, those students will be new for the year they first enter your school.
Great. And growth is obviously not for any third grade. Third grade
Right.
doesn't, because they don't have any prior years of testing before them. Okay. There are definitely some more tabs in here. I encourage you to check them out, but I want to get on to our next sort of section. Um, just wrapping up iReport. If you are wondering and trying to understand each of the tabs, here, at the end of this section, we have given you all of the tabs and the different information that you can find on them. So if you're ever searching for like, where do I find this information? Or is this on iPlatform? Is it in iReport or iAchieve or iExplore? We've kind of mapped it all out for you here so that you can see the general information within there. I'll pause there as I'm moving on to iAchieve. Mike, just, interrupt me if you need me to slow it down. When it comes to iAchieve, this information, some of the information on iAchieve is also going to be on iReport. It does look a little bit different, and it really has to do with your assessment, scores, participation, proficiency, growth, and all of that. So I'm going to choose iAchieve here. And the cool thing is with iAchieve, at least I think it's cool, is that it defaults for you to the state of New Hampshire. So you're able to see all of this information as the state of New Hampshire, or you're able to view it, for your particular school. But I'm going to keep the slides here to the particular to the state for right now. And as we move through, I might move along to go back maybe to Auburn Village School. So first and foremost is you've got the assessment participation. I'm just making it just a little bit bigger. So this is the same screen, but just zoomed in a little bit, just to give you a little bit of information about what you're seeing here. So again, this is what I had said in the beginning, was that the participation rates are only for your students that were enrolled in your school for the full academic year, which means, or district. For the full academic year. So if they were in your district that whole academic year, at least 90% of the year, their information is shown in these particular numbers. If you had somebody move in April and they took the New Hampshire SAS in May, you will be able to get their scores on the Cambium site or in Data Studio, but that's not, their information is not in your district overall information for participation, proficiency, growth, or achievement. Those students are taken out. The other thing that is really big to note is the federal participation target is 95%. That is, again, it's set by the federal government. It's not set by the state of New Hampshire, but the state of New Hampshire adheres to. Your target is to have 95% of your students or more participating in the assessment. When it comes to accountability, it is wise for you to get as many people as you can, as many students as you can to take the assessment. It's something that whenever my colleagues and I go on site, we talk about this because a lot of people, think like, oh, let's have our special ed students opt out so that their scores aren't part of this. But it is far worse if you are below the 95% participation rate for you to have your special ed students not participating than it would be for them to participate, even if it is something that might be hard for them. So I guess the biggest note I would say is you want to get your participation as high as possible. You want as many students as you can taking the assessment so that it can be a true sort of snapshot of where you are so that your accountability corresponds with that. So we've got our participation rates. You can see, obviously, I've got 96% of my ELA students participated, so 4% didn't. So we'll talk a little bit about that. As we move on to the bottom and to the proficiency and growth tab, I'll move on to the bottom of the assessment participation when I go live. But for proficiency and growth, you can see overall we've got our assessment proficiency and academic growth at the top. Because I'm looking at the state of New Hampshire, it's 50%. I didn't pick a district that was just a fluke that was at 50% for both. The state will always show 50% academic growth because it takes all students into consideration and the average is 50. You can see the overall assessment proficiency for each particular subject area. And then down at the bottom, you're also, oh, that's where if it's above 50, we're doing great. Um, on the bottom of this screen for both ELA and math, it's showing you, now this is cohort data, at least as accurate cohort data as we can for the students who are in our schools at that time, like Mike was saying before. And what this shows you is over time how the students are performing year after year and what their proficiency is compared to their growth over time. So I'm just going to make it just a little bit bigger because this gets a little bit confusing for folks. So the way we read this, there's a couple different ways, but if you want to look at a cohort and track students over time, you're going to be able to, you're going to want to look at it diagonally. So these are students where my particular arrow is right now, were students that were in fourth grade in 2021, and in 2025 were in eighth grade. And you can see what their particular proficiency is over time. And then you would also be able to see what their growth is. Again, growth is 50% because I'm looking at the state of New Hampshire. You could also look at this as a particular grade level and say for third grade, let's see what was our, overall proficiency. Is it trending up? Is it not trending up? Is it staying stagnant? So you can look at across the grade level as well. Moving on to the achievement levels tab, we have specifically, if you know me or have seen me train at any time, this is my favorite part of the particular iAchieve platform here is where this achievement levels are and the academic growth. I've switched this to a district now so that you can see overall what percentage of students were in each level and then what their overall growth was for each particular level. If we're looking at this, I guess I would just point out for these level 4 kids, their growth is 71.94%, which is pretty fantastic. That means their highest students are making growth, which is always really good. And then down, if we look also at the bottom of the screen, we can see achievement growth over time. What we're seeing here is we're seeing for each particular level, you have to look kind of at the top here to be able to see the gray, yellow, the light green, and the dark green. So you can see each level and how they're doing with achievement levels over time and for growth over time. So we want to be able to see as much growth as possible, and obviously we want achievement to be going up as well. So this just kind of shows you a little bit of information about that. And then each one of the years is on the bottom. Sometimes it gets a little confusing because you have to scroll to the bottom of the screen to know that this is 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. The last tab is your ESSA indicators. So what this is saying is how are you when it comes to accountability? So you've got your different indicators. This particular screenshot is for somebody in good standing. You can see just the general information that they have here of why they are in good standing. So it gives you the indicators. If it's got an N, that means that the population isn't high enough to have English language proficiency and any sort of score for that. Because I picked a school that isn't a high school, I don't get college and career readiness and I don't get graduation rate. If I had picked a high school, I would get those. And then on the bottom here, you can see what the values are and sort of what the achievement, growth, equity, all of that, and sort of how it all feeds into the good standing. I want to go now.
Heather,
Yeah,
Heather, I'm sorry,
yeah.
can you go back to that one more time? I just want to mention, because a question had come up earlier about the parents who opt out, and I know you talked kind of a little bit about that. So
Mhm.
just to be clear, if a student doesn't take the test, regardless of whether it's opting out or some other, kind of unexcused reason, they're just absent, whatever, um, their results, when Heather was showing us the proficiency and growth tab and the achievement level tabs on the prior screens, their results won't be reflected in those. Those will show you the true achievement level of the students who took the test. However, the ESSA indicators do get impacted by those. So this is where, on this screen, is where that impact would come through. So if you had 100 students and only 90 of them tested, that's 10%. That's more than 5%. So 5% of those students basically will be counted as having a zero, and they will bring down your achievement level as if they got a zero, between a 1 and 5, a zero achievement level. So these achievement levels, like where it says 2.78 for the achievement level, could impact your growth as well. Um, those numbers will be impacted by students who opt out. And those are the numbers that are used to determine whether you're in good standing or whether you're a CSI, a TSI, or an ATS school. So I just wanted to explain that, how those opt-out students are impacting.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go live again. I'm on the iPlatform site here, and I'm going to click on iAchieve. And then this is, again, like I was saying, the state of New Hampshire. I can see my overall proficiency or your overall participation rates in your full academic year, the number of students that were there for ELA, math, and then science. Um, so as you kind of scroll down the page, you're able to see a little bit of information here. It's interesting if you were looking into one of the things that people say is like we have low participation. Is there sort of a trend in of who is not participating? We've got this is again state of New Hampshire. We've got 4% of students. If I hover over this, I can kind of see what we have here for the number of students and sort of the breakdown of that demographic for those students who aren't testing. So this breakdown of students not tested, it can be super helpful for you to kind of see of the students who didn't test, what are the specific indicators that or groups of people, subpopulations that are not necessarily testing? So this gives you just a general understanding of the subgroups, the race and ethnicity, and whether they're male or female. So this can be kind of helpful in determining who's actually not participating and maybe go about that in a different way to be able to get those students to participate. Um, Up at the top here, I do want to show you something that I think we miss a lot when we're looking at information in iAchieve. Right now, this is the state of New Hampshire. You can see that we've got 3 through 8 for ELA and math, right? And then for science, we're looking at grades 5, 8, and 11. So we want to make sure that we're thinking about this as we're looking at this data. If I wanted to click here and I wanted to see just for the state of New Hampshire, let's say I'm fifth grade. I just want to see fifth grade. If I choose fifth grade here, now what happens is it just shows me the fifth grade participation, the full academic year, and all of that. I can also change this and I can say I want to see a specific school. So, okay, now I'm not looking at the state of New Hampshire anymore. I'm looking at Auburn Village School. And so as soon as I do this, it is changed now to Auburn Village School. I can click this X. It's going to keep Auburn Village School here. I want to click the X because that way it's not on my page. I'm still looking at fifth grade. So I can now see for Auburn Village School, the participation for fifth graders, the number of students and all of that. So I just want to show you this. You could also look at it for a particular subgroup. So let's say I want all grades, but I want a particular subgroup here. As soon as I click subgroup, it will allow me to choose. So if you wanted to look at English language learners or economically disadvantaged, any of these particular indicator students with disabilities or without disabilities, you're able to filter off of any of these subgroups and view any of these tabs here, except ESSA is different. These three tabs here, you're able to view that. The only thing I'll caution you on is there have been more than one time that I have used the filters on assessment participation and then gone into proficiency and growth and forgotten that I have the filter on. So just make sure you continue to update your filters for the tabs that you're on here. So I'm just going to say all categories here, all grades. And I'm going to hide my filters again. So just some general information. I want to change to proficiency and growth here. And then again, so we can see a lot of this information is the same as iPlatform, just in a little bit different way within iAchieve. So I can see here again, I have my assessment proficiency. If I were to click on math here, I'm able to see the cool thing on this one is you're able to see the last 3 years by subgroup. So it just gives you just a little bit more information for the information on iAchieve. Same thing here for my growth. I'm able to see my subgroups and the type of growth each subgroup or race or ethnicity has been able to accomplish for growth. And then down at the bottom here, I'm able to kind of take a look at and see again, either cohort data as it goes or what my grade levels as a whole are doing when it comes to growth each year. I tend to keep this on assessment percent proficient. You can change it to average scaled score. I just find this to be sort of an arbitrary number. But you can see the average scaled scores so that you could, sort of look at if you've got the cut scores in front of you, where they are overall in proficiency, whether they're a level 1, 2, 3, or 4. Same thing for math. And then science, we just have the proficiency. We don't have, again, the growth because they take it in different years. So this just has grade 5 and 8. If I was looking at a district that had 11th grade, I would see grade 11 as well. All right, I'll move on here now to the achievement levels. This is my favorite tab. This is what I like the most. So I'm always talking to folks about, okay, we want to see proficiency, we want to be able to see growth. I love seeing something like this, that the level 4 students are making pretty high growth, level 3, and you can kind of see so on and so forth. What I want to also show you is you've got your different percentages in here. But the cool thing is that if I look at level 3 here and I hover over this, my favorite part about this is of these students who are level 3, if you look at level 1, 2.1% of the kids that scored level 3 in all the grades, right? I could choose a specific grade if I wanted to, but in all the grades, 2.17% of them were level 1 the year before. 17.39% of them were level 2. So we've got all those kids going up to level 3. You can then see that also, though, in the same vein, that 16.85 of those level 3 students were level 4 last year and have moved down to level 3. So I like to be able to kind of see this And then the not required to test is probably your students that maybe are in third grade this year and weren't required to test, or maybe they've moved in from out of state. They didn't need to take the test last year. So it's pretty cool to be able to just kind of hover over this and sort of see where students were last year compared to where they were this year. And you can kind of see, like sort of what the makeup is of that achievement level. And then you can also see how that might be pertaining to some of the growth factors that you see over here. Over here, you're able to go down to the bottom and see growth over time. If you wanted to see specific subgroup information about this, again, this is 25. If I'm looking at science and I'm looking at the level 1 students, this is the breakdown of the level 1 students by race and ethnicity and subgroup. I'm having trouble scrolling up. And so you can kind of see that. So a lot, again, of hover text that you can see with this as well. One thing I would say is that if you're looking overall, like from one year to the next, growth looks pretty good over here. But then if you're looking from year to year of these level 4 students, they're having less and less and less growth for their students who are level 4. So just again, general information for you to be able to see. And then I'll just go.
Heather,
Yep. Mhm.
there's a question about whether what you're showing is an example of triangulation of data. And I can give you my thoughts, or if you want to take a stab at it.
I'm sorry, can you repeat it? Just what this means compared to like the triangulation of data, like this is just New Hampshire SAS
Yeah. So I
and
mean, the question I
NHED.
think is, yeah, is this an example of one piece of triangulation of data? And I think I'm not if I understand the question. So typically, when you're talking about triangulation of data, you're typically talking about different assessments that might be assessing the same type of content,
Yeah.
and so you're looking at multiple indicators, like could be NHSAS and SAS, I'm sorry, NWA. It could also be that you're looking at multiple pieces of data to look at a student performance. You might be looking at students who might have performed poorly on the test, but also have attendance issues. So you're looking at multiple types of pieces of data. What we're looking at here is the same assessment results. So it is triangulation in the sense that you're looking at both growth and achievement. And those do give you two perspectives. So, if you've got a school that's high achieving and also high growth, those are two different indicators that help you triangulate in that sense.
Mhm. And I think that, some people also look at this and like when Marissa and I are on site, sometimes we're looking at this, like if I went over to the proficiency and growth tab here, I'm able to see how they've scored in ELA for the last 3 years. So even though it's not triangulation of data because it's the same assessments, we're looking at year after year. So we're seeing in general, is there a trending of growth or not growth? But, it is always our message to be able to say, yes, this is one form of data. But one thing that we also want to stress is that this is data. It is a huge part of us trying, a chunk of our academic time and, efforts as teachers, administrators, schools, and everything is to get students to really be able to apply what they know to this particular assessment. And what we find a lot is people don't use these results at all. So that's what we're trying to do is be able to show you how you might be able to use these results to be able to either ask more questions or to gain some answers and to just inform you about how your students are doing on this high stakes test. At that, I think I'm going to go back to my slides. And again, want to show you here a little bit of information again about navigating the assessment participation stuff, just general things that you can do to kind of teach others or to learn yourself about what each one of these particular tabs is showing you. I am looking at the time, so I want to be cognizant of the fact that I don't want to go too far over today. And so I want to start moving into iExplore. iExplore is a pretty cool application because now what we're able to do is we're able to look at your information, possibly for your schools compared to other schools, or districts within the state, be able to kind of gain information about schools that might be similar to yours, and kind of see overall what performance is, not just for one particular school or district at a time. So as we're going into here, I'm going to go right into iExplore. And the first thing that you're going to be seeing is you're going to be able to see all of the schools. You can see them all kind of listed here. I'm on the Explore tab here. I just want to make it just a little bit bigger. And what we're doing is we're able to see right now this particular Explorer tab. We're looking at right now the indicator. We're looking at basically all categories, and we're looking at the average class size. This Explore tab is you're going to be able to choose an indicator here, and it's going to be able to use that indicator compared to proficiency in ELA and math. You're not able to change the ELA math portion. This is the indicator that you're working on here. So you can choose any of the information above. And what it's going to do is it's going to give you some information, right? We've got all of our categories here are listed. And then as you're looking at that, you can also see all the different indicators. So the indicator category, basically all of this list here that goes further down than proficiency in math and ELA. Each one of those indicators is within one of the indicator categories. So if you knew that it was an academic growth indicator, you could choose academic growth, and then the indicators would just be the academic growth indicators. So you're able to kind of filter down the information a little bit in that way, so that you're not seeing this whole huge long list. And then as we're looking at this again, looking compared to proficiency in math and ELA, and then we have with this, you have this sort of grid over here. This is all of the schools over here, and it's telling you for their particular average class size compared to their proficiency in ELA, this Pearson R value tells us if there is an indicator related to ELA math proficiency that is a strong relationship or a not strong relationship. Basically, if we're looking at the like just a quick visual here, the 0.8 through 1 is a positive relationship. So that means that there could be something here that is saying average class size and the ELA and math proficiency. There could be some sort of correlation there or some sort of relationship. 0.5 to 0.79 is a moderate relationship, like not sure, just maybe, but not sure. Below a 0.5 is there's no relationship or it's very weak, and the correlation does not necessarily show any relationships between the two. So here's the good news and bad news on that. Average class size, what this is telling us over here is it has no bearing. There is no relationship between average class size and math and ELA performance. That being said, even if it was, let's just say it was like 0.81 and all of these things were way up here, that does not necessarily mean that your average class size is causing the math and ELA proficiency to go up or down. It just says that there might be a connection, but that may not necessarily be the cause. There's a lot of other factors in there. So it just kind of gives us a little bit of information about how some of these things might be related and different indicators you might have that might show a positive or a strong relationship between them, or a weak relationship between your indicator and the math and ELA performance. I'm going to pause there and just make sure. That's usually, I get a ton of questions usually during that time, Mike. So I'll just take 1 second.
I think you're okay regarding this.
Okay.
But when you, are you going to go? You're going to have time to go live in
I'm
iExplore?
hoping, I'm hoping,
Okay.
although I have
I'm
4
gonna.
minutes. So I'm
There's
gonna,
one thing I'm going to want to have. I'll point you to one thing for folks to answer a question when you get there.
okay. All right, great. The next tab, I'm popping over to the Discover tab because this is very similar to the Explore tab, but the difference is you're able to choose the x-axis and the y-axis, so we're not necessarily having to see ELA and math proficiency. This one happens to be showing student growth in ELA versus average teacher salary. So this is a very similar screen, but you're able to choose two different indicators to be able to see if they're correlated. Again, our indicators are within particular categories, so you're able to see all the different indicators and use the little down arrows to be able to see those. There's your Pearson R value. So this tells you that there's a very weak correlation between student growth and average teacher salary. You can also look at the different information on if you wanted to change the year, if you wanted to change like and say, I only want to see if these in middle school, or I only want to see these in elementary school, or what have you. You could do that, or the Lakes region or things. This next tab is the compare tab. And what you're able to do is you're able to compare either the state of New Hampshire to a school or two schools to each other. And you can take a look at on the left-hand side, it shows you, again, Abbott Downing is here. You're able to see what we're looking at is average class size. So Abbott Downing's class sizes are bigger than the average of the state of New Hampshire. You can kind of see what that looks like. And then on the right-hand side, these are all of your different indicators for achievement on the left, and you'll be able to scroll down. Got all those different indicators that you can do as well. All right. Okay. All right. So if I'm actually going to not do the download. I'm going to skip the download for right now. You can download a lot of this information on any one of these screens. I'm just going to kind of fly through that because I do want to go live and be able to show you some of the things within iExplore in the T-2 minutes that I have here. Okay, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go into iExplore.
Heather, can I show you, have you show one thing on this right here?
Yeah.
If you choose an indicator name, if you choose growth, and then I think it's either math or ELA, either one. Oh no,
Oh,
I'm
it's a
sorry.
growth rating.
Um, Go a little further.
Proficiency, is that what you want?
Student growth, student growth. Sorry, student
Okay.
growth, ELA or math, either one. So the question was, how do I know what a good student growth looks like? And so this is showing you the average student growth for each school. If you scroll down to the bottom of that list, Heather, in the middle, all in the bottom, and you click on that, there's three little lines. It's kind of hard to get to. You got to scroll all the way right there. This will, if she clicks on that, that'll sort these from top to bottom. And so now if you go back up to the top, we can see that, here one school had 85% average, their average growth was 85%. That's crazy high. 75% for another one. So the top, looks like the top 20 schools are somewhere between 65 and 85. So that's a really strong average growth. So just to give you an idea of what might be. And the other thing that I found interesting, if you hover over like the 72 or the 73 numbers, it should pop up, or maybe it's over the bar. Yeah, there you go. It shows you how it's changed each year. And so it's interesting to look at these. Like this one has kind of been a steady increase. If you go down to the Mason Elementary School, you might see something different. Here it's gone up and down. If you go down, try Grantham. On the next one after I'm
Oh,
there.
sorry.
Nope, not that one. Anyway, you'll I found some as I was looking through these that were kind of this, like that one. There's another good steady growth. Like, those are schools you might want to reach out to them and say, Interlakes Middle School, is there something you're doing that seems to be working year over year to have your students grow multiple years, because it's not easy to continue to improve your growth year over year. Anyway,
Mhm.
I took your 2 minutes, so like you go over a little bit, but
It's all
hopefully that's
good.
helpful for folks.
Yeah. So we're able to look at that, again, for math and ELA. But if I were to go again to this discover here, I'm able to choose, if I wanted to here, I could say, um, I could look at, maybe if I want to go to graduation rate, maybe. So graduation rate. And then over here, I want to see, I don't know, average teacher salary. So now I can say, is there a correlation between that's weird, average something
I
salary.
think the salary for finance, we don't have it yet.
Okay. All right.
Maybe that's
I think
why. I'm
that's
not sure.
it. Yeah, graduation
Okay.
rate, teacher salary. I thought you used to have to click select, but as long as you select it, then you just close it again. You should be able to see it. So now I'm able to see this, but like if I would also want to say, I want to see my high schools, right? So that might change things, although average graduation rate is probably only for high schools. Maybe I wanted to see it just in the Lakes region. However you want to look at this, you can kind of just see in general. And then when you click on any of these, I should be able to see what school this one is, and then it gives me the general information about it. So it's kind of cool to be able to use this. I do want to go to just really quickly because I didn't at least get to the search on the other. This is a really cool sort of feature of iExplore. I'm able to see some general information. Let's say I'm looking for a new math program. I might be able to say, I want to see what schools that have the proficiency in math. I want to see their math proficiency. And I want to see schools that are maybe around my size. So I want to see my total student enrollment. And I actually want to see total school enrollment for schools that are at least as big as mine. So maybe 350 students or more. I can click on the filter here and it takes only those schools that are 350 or more. It gives me all of the schools here that I'm able to see. And maybe I want to say, I only want to see schools that are, let's say, kindergarten through fifth grade. I could click on these two to say anybody who has any grade spans that I wanted, but let's just say I choose this one and I click apply. These are all the schools that meet that particular criteria. I can see what their proficiency is, and it puts them right in order. If I wanted to do it in reverse order, I could do that. Um, this isn't long of a list, so I wouldn't necessarily need to do that. But it tells me what their average size is, and then I can look up these particular schools and I can say what's going on, with, maybe a school that I'm looking at, the Bernice Ray School. What's going on there in, that particular school and in Hanover and sort of what might I be able to do. So maybe they have a particular math program that they're using or that they've adopted, and I might be able to reach out to them and say, I can see that your scores are high. So, is there a particular, program you're following or, something that you've done within your school to be able to see this? And then you could look again also at iReport for them and be able to kind of see what overtime is and just gain a little bit more information. So there's a lot of different ways that we can use a lot of these tools here too. So before I go way too far over, I do want to just say this is some general information about iExplore. There are some scenarios here, so you might just take a peek at the scenarios. I'm not going to go into them because we're already 5 minutes over. But I did put some scenarios in here and some of the answers to the scenarios. So if you're, looking at some of this, that the iExplore scenario I did do at least. That's what I just showed you, so that we could just make sure to get to that one. But here's
And
some.
those scenarios, real quick, Heather, too, those scenarios are something that might be helpful for you if you want to do, like, if you're, as a train the trainer, if you're become the trainer and you want to share this with some of your staff in your schools, you could, give them a little demo and have them play around with those scenarios and see if they can find the answers.
Great. And then the helpful hints, these are just like if you click something, you can click on the X to close it, just some general little things that might be helpful. And then the last slide has our general information on it. You can reach out to me anytime. I tend to be the one that does a lot of the training. Mike is also available, but definitely reach out if you have questions or thoughts.